Good day, and welcome to the Budding Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Randy Bridges. In each episode, I cover my experiences, both good and bad, of being a business builder, as well as my journey through the crazy world of entrepreneurship to reach my goal of earning $10 million a year. All right, we're on episode 119 of the podcast, and I want to thank you. It is the 26th of October, 2023, so we are just about heading into November, getting ready to plan for a whole new month. The board's going to change a bit. We're going to be introducing new books into the equation. We're going to be doing some more pieces for our monthly projects that we're putting together, and of course, this week and next week are going to roll together just like they always do. So we're going to jump right into the content. We're still dealing with the $100 million offers by Alex Hormozi. I've been doing a lot more investigating of his work on video, and he gives a little bit more of a clarity to everything that he's trying to do. Number one is his videos are cut pretty well. As fast as he talks, they still manage to get across a really good paced process of the material. And it's good to listen to, look at, and see some of the different things, like when he slaps stuff onto a board or whatever. It creates a certain amount of action and movement within the process. So that's awesome. We're going to still be dealing with magnetic marketing. Now, I have to be honest and tell you, I haven't cracked the book yet. I've been spending a lot of time working on the No BS series from Dan Kennedy, and the magnetic marketing book is right there, sitting on top, on my table, ready to go. But I've been spending more time working on Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson. That one is one that's very complex. The frameworks themselves are very simple, but they're involved. So when you're looking at how you're going to do your business, and you're going to be incorporating things like the big domino and some other pieces that he brings to the table, it's really a long stretch process in getting to the point where you become an expert and everything says you're an expert. Next month, I'll be introducing a couple of new ones, not to take away from them, but by that time, I know Expert Secrets will be off the board. I'm going to complete that before the end of this month. My goal was to read all of these books in 1 month, but it just doesn't always work that way. The thicker the material, the slower you have to read. You have to take it in bite-sized chunks as well. So you got to kind of go back, review what you were doing, and then keep moving through. For this month, our KPIs are looking really good. I have introduced my 5-part problem matrix of different emails going out. It is a long process. I did the first 2. I thought I was going to just stop there, and I realized that's not good for your promise that you had up front. So I went ahead and reworked the last 3, so 3, 4, and 5. Put those all together, made a call to action at the end of the second one, and made another call to action at the end of the 5th one. And I'm going to start doing a lot more outreach. I've been adding in target market contacts by the hundreds. We're trying to just see what particular topics resonate with people. That's really what you're trying to do. I want to clear my list as well. And I want to make sure that any bad email addresses are not being delivered to. And anyone who wants to unsubscribe, we just checked a little box. It's okay. Take them out of the sequence so it doesn't count them against how many people have actually gone through and done what. Right now, looking at the pieces of the puzzle here for the problem sequence, we have the teaser tracking, and I'm just going to quickly go over these as averages. I've been averaging 209 total emails sent. That's on my list. We've got about an 89.85% delivery number on that. That's actually pretty good. 20.46% open rate. That's even really awesome. And then about 4.95% click rate. Looking at problem number 1, we're looking at a roughly 122. This is a much smaller sample, breaking it down. 98.65% delivery. We're looking at 11.45% open rate and a 3.21% click rate. Problem 2, which is the end of the series, the first series, is an average of 170 with 99.84% delivery. And you would think that that number would be that high, considering the fact that we're still sending these out, trying to clear them all up as they go. 11.97% open rate and a 4.8% click rate. That's not bad. I mean, an 11, almost 12% open rate, that's not a thing to sniff at. I haven't gotten to problem 4 because that's coming next week. Right now, I haven't added in today's totals yet, but we're at an average of 255 of the problem number 3 total being sent. 100% delivery. We're looking at an 11.63% open rate, roughly the same as the last one, and a 6.54% click rate. So, our unsubscribe rates are like less than 1%. About 1/4% to 0.5% is average for all of these thus far. So, and I'm getting ready to add, I don't know how many hundreds more to my list. Start over the process. They'll go through the teaser. Everybody will be happy. And it's one that I really have to clean up a lot of. I targeted Indiana. I targeted Ohio. Now I wanted to target just the San Francisco Bay Area, where I used to live. I know very well. There's lots of attorneys there. I'm not guessing where all these cities are. I've been to darn near every single one. And so for me, this is one of those kind of things I can look at and say, yeah, I know where this law firm is located, or have within 1/4 of a mile. I've probably been there. Many of them, I did not include San Francisco. I didn't include much of anything on the peninsula north of Redwood City, just simply because right now that whole area is being depressed. And San Francisco, South San Francisco, some would disagree, but San Francisco's in a bad way. I didn't go up on the East Bay. I didn't go up into Berkeley. I didn't go up any farther that way. I did go Alamo, Walnut Creek, Richmond. I did Bay Point, a lot of different ones out of the primary Bay Area, out in the Tri-Valley area. So we've got Livermore, Pleasanton, Dublin, San Ramon, that kind of area out there. All of those are being utilized. Did not include San Jose, didn't include anything in the South Bay. I don't even think I included anything like Palo Alto or Sunnyvale. I really kept it very tight. I can focus on those later on. That's where I am right now with the marketing KPIs. You can kind of see, if you're not keeping track of what's going on and making sure that the people you're contacting and you're going through, if you don't know where they are and you don't have any connection to that area, it becomes very difficult to really know if you're getting a good KPI mix. As you're keeping tabs on things and making phone calls and doing more emails and all of these types of things, you get a chance to really sit back and go, okay, how much of this do I really understand? How much am I targeting correctly? That's where your KPIs come in real handy. If you've got an area where you know it and you know you're keeping your key performance indicators, not your lag indicators, your performance indicators, the ones up front that are dictating how far things go, that's how you can keep much of the KPIs relevant to your business. I'm still working on the Hormozi Core 4. I've now moved into the cold audience, have been for about a week and a half now. That means you have to do more numbers. You have to have a broader perspective of what you're doing. Now I'm going to go ahead and start incorporating some of the people that I know and the outreach beyond them. I'm going to look at creating partnerships to be able to utilize more than just what I know is people on the other side of that partnership. And in Taylor Welch, going through incorporating 3 of the 4 models. I'm not doing an actual product. I am doing a service, I'm doing a program, and I'm doing a partnership. So those are 3 of the models that Taylor Welch recommends that people go through and do. I don't really have any low-cost products to consider. I do have a lot of free ones that I'm incorporating. I don't think that necessarily counts as low cost, because you're still asking somebody to spend their time, and I'm giving them a lot of value for what I'm doing. So that's an important metric. It's the difference between low cost and no cost. You're giving more value than what the customer or the prospect is expecting. So in their head, and Myron Golden is one of the people I'm bringing in next month for one of the books. He talks about this. If this is what they give away for free, how much value am I going to get when I pay? Great question. And people do ask this. I find myself all the time asking these types of questions of myself. So value is important, cost less so. The more value you can provide, the better your output's going to be. And you're going to see when we get into what's going on this week, there's a lot more to that coming down the road. Now, we talked about the 5 problem email sequence. This is the weekly work going backwards and forwards. So looking at the blog series, we did one on Taylor Welch. I did one on Dana Derricks. This week is on Mahan Khalsa. Now, it's not a common name. A lot of people don't know him necessarily, but if you get into the process of being a consultant, the sales process can be very convoluted if you're not careful. You start dealing with larger, more complex businesses, and you get into a consulting process as part of sales being redefined. And I like the quote that I pulled for this blog. It's pretty funny. It gives a great hint into Mahan Khalsa's humor. Very dry and yet just about gut-busting. He says, consultants, being the intelligent people we are, have formalized the guessing process. We call it a proposal. If you've ever gotten a proposal, if you've ever given a proposal, you know that that's kind of the way that it is. It really is, you're guessing. You're doing a lot of guessing. And the idea is, no, we don't want to guess. And so he focuses on a process that he calls order, opportunity, resources, decision, exact solution, and results. And so ORDER gives you a strong process that the proposal comes after you've been able to answer so many of the questions and be able to know for sure you're not guessing. You can actually point to where it is that somebody is trying to get to and what they're having to overcome. So take a read of it to the blog over at blog.randybridgesconsulting.com/TBE, as in the budding entrepreneur. Next week is going to be negotiation, and the following week is going to be on pricing. Everybody should be essentially, and this goes back to Russell Brunson and why I started my podcast in the very beginning. People should be putting material out as often as possible across as many resources as is feasible for you, right? Time being time. These podcasts take a great amount of time to actually sit down, not just to record it. You've got to plan it. I mean, everybody that follows my Facebook page knows that I put the notes, my whiteboard notes, I put a picture of those with my acknowledgement of what's going on with the podcast and what's happening, what our topics are this week. And I'm also transcribing everything that I say, taking that, run it in, get a simple review, a couple of paragraphs at the most, tell everybody what's going to be happening, and then get everybody to actually go listen. And this picture of the whiteboard, people tell me they just love it because in a snapshot, you can see what the podcast is about and go into it and take a look. And, if it makes sense to you, hey, go listen to it. And I'm getting more and more people listening to my podcast off of Apple, which is great. I just love the fact that it is being syndicated out to Apple without me having to personally do anything. Listening to Myron Golden talk, he mentioned something about video. That his whole concept, he might make one call to action in the course of a month. The rest of the time, he and his team are putting out videos every single day, bits and pieces, long form, right? I wanted to take that idea and create not just the Budding Entrepreneur channel, which is basically I run repurpose.io to convert from the actual recorded podcast over to something that has a little bit of a sine wave of what's going on, and you can tell how far you are through the podcast. But I want to do something different, and I haven't decided what my target is going to be. This is something that I have targeted for next month. It starts next week. I'm going to be digging into it, and that's doing a separate video channel to kind of dovetail in to the Budding Entrepreneur. So people can not only see where I'm going with things and learn what I'm learning, and I can pass off good information, but now here's going to be something that I can go do a deep dive into with video as well as audio, extract pieces out of it, put things into, short blogs, just ideas, short pieces, posts, the different types of things. So the video channel is going to cover a good expanse. I'm not what a lot of people would consider to be the greatest on video. I don't really care. I pretty much sucked when I started my podcast. And so I'm not at all surprised that I'm getting better about it. And that's kind of the key that you have to remember. You're gonna suck in the very beginning. It just is that way. And then you're gonna slowly get better. And as you get better, more and more of your material will generate more and more views and more interest, because people will hear one thing. That's it. Just one is all they got to hear. And they might be hooked. There's a lot of people that are like that. I saw Myron Golden years ago when he was first involved with Russell Brunson, as far as I could see. And I always was impressed by how well he presented himself. He does a lot of talking about how to present, how to sell from the stage. And that's a great thing. I know that Dan Henry was involved in that. We'll be talking about Dan Henry on certain things next month as well. The video process of what he's doing now is just pure content. That's really all it is. And that's important, that we recognize video has a place. Whether we recognize it or not, it does have a place in other people's lives. Podcasts, the same thing. Writing, the same thing. Speaking, the same thing. There's a lot of people, Victoria Kennedy does a lot of presentations, a lot of things on stage, does a great job of it. She's fabulous at it. And I love watching some of the things that she's doing. She's very unassuming and yet very powerful speaking from the stage. That's great to have that kind of an outlet. Everybody needs to find your own, but you always need to stretch, right? You've got to open those arms a bit and encompass something that's new on a regular basis. Otherwise, you're just static. And that is not a bad thing. It's just not a growing thing, right? Last piece of this week that I want to talk about is I put out a request recently for a mentor. I'm in process on that, in progress. I want to find somebody to help me get prepared to move from where I am to the next program. I went through Consulting Launch Kit as a program through Taylor Welch's company, The Wealthy Consultant. And the next program up, it's being rebranded, but it's currently called Modern Day Consultant, and it's being rebranded, and I don't think they've actually released that brand, so I'm not going to give the name right away. But it is it's the next step in the process. And the idea is, with Consulting Launch Kit, you want to have one program that you do using one method to get it out there, and one avenue to present it. Well, Modern Day Consultant does three. We're going to focus on that partnership. We're going to focus on the product. We're going to focus on all the different models. that's where modern day consultant kind of kicks in, is that wider, broader view. There's a lot more wealth view as well. It's not just about running your business and making a lot of money. It's about investing in your own wealth and health so that you personally stay on track with what you need to do. So that's where MDC, modern day consultant, that's where I've understood that there's the difference, is we're going to scale up to the next level. And so once you do that, now you're in the category of $1 million plus a year. That's the idea. And I'm not there yet. So as as everybody has to do this, and this is all a process, $10 million a year. I got to go through 1 million to get to 10. And so what they always say is once you achieve your first million, it's easier to make your second and then to make your third and up through your 10th. These are the guidelines that I'm bringing into this whole process. Is I want my mentor to help me get to that 1.2 million. That's where my first target is. And then once I get into there, now I'm in a position that I can actually start moving into MDC and be able to contribute more than just absorb on a regular basis. That's my first level mentor. I'll get a coach beyond that. But right now, the mentor, a lot of people ask what the difference is between a coach and a mentor. A coach, a lot of times, if you think like professional sports, they understand the game. They understand the process of the game. They may have gone out and been, if it's a hockey team, right, and they're a hockey coach, goalie coaches, and, for passing coaches and things like this. Coaches haven't necessarily made their living by playing the game they're coaching. Some have. Some are very good at that. I mean, that's the thing. You've got to be really good. You have to see the ice. You have to see what's going on. Same thing for the field, right? Quarterback coaches have to be able to see the field as a player. Mentors, on the other hand, have done it. They've done it. They've gone beyond that. They know what it takes to get from where I am to where I'm going. And it's not incremental changes necessarily, as many times it's teaching that vision. It's teaching how to see these types of problems. So we're coming up on 25 minutes here. I don't want to bury this too long, but it is the end of the month, so we're kind of taking an expanded view of things. I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. This is Randy Bridges for The Budding Entrepreneur, wishing you the best in your health, your wealth, your business, your family, everything about you. Take care. We'll be back next week with a brand new month of programming.